emotion that can come out of your eyeballs, I experienced it in the second one. And it was partially because of jet lag and my first shot of the vaccine, but also it was just a very well-written book. Hello. Why can't I do this like before I start recording? Why do I have to shuffle? Hi. I have been putting off making this video for a long time, as you guys know, because I wanted to give it the respect that it deserves, as I have said. I can't. I'm just wishing that I had some kind of quiet oasis in which to film. I simply do not. There is a literal hurricane outside today, Hurricane Henri, and I decided if I'm gonna be a mess talking about this book, I might as well have a messy surrounding. So we're gonna talk about the duology, We Hunt the Flame, We Free the Stars, and I'm going to try and convince you to read it if you haven't already. Mainly, I'm just going to tell you to do it. And now that that's done, let's talk about the plot. You need to read this book as a duology. Like, We Free the Stars was so fantastic in bringing it all together and making it a full story and making it wonderful. So if you have read We Hunt the Flame and you were kind of like, it was fine, but I'm not interested enough to go read the second one, change your mind. Please read the second one. The character growth, which I'll talk about more honestly in the spoiler section, so you'll just have to believe me if you don't want to hear spoilers. As a duology, it is absolutely wonderful. However, I read this while I was very jet lagged and I stayed up very late to finish these books. When I am really interested in a particular part of a storyline, I have a very bad habit in which I will skim certain parts that don't interest me as much so that I can hone in on the parts that do interest me. I really honed in on the romance part. The relationship between our two main characters is just so great to watch grow that that's really all I was interested in. So for me, the plot is always fuzzy because I forget everything that I read, but it's extra fuzzy because honestly, I cared a lot more about a different part of the plot. So you can do it though. If you're the same kind of person as me, reading the duology, kind of skimming the heavy world building sections, because I'll talk about it, but there are some really heavy world building sections that were kind of clunky and I didn't love them. You can skip those and you will still love it if you love an enemies to lovers romance, which you know I do. So I'm going to jump into a non-spoiler look into what the book is about, and then I'm gonna give you a big old fair warning, but I'm gonna dive into some more specifics, and that will be spoiler section. So you are still free to come along. I'll tell you about the book. Hopefully you will read it. Hopefully you will read the second one. I am losing my voice before the video has even begun. How is this possible? I had a COVID test today because I'm flying home to Korea, which is why I am in a hotel. I am not at home. So I'm feeling rough inside and out today. But enough of that. Let's talk about Zafirah and Nasir. We Hunt the Flame takes place in a world that once had magic, and the magic is gone. Because of that, there are all of these different parts of the kingdom that have kind of taken on these weird kind of magical after effects. So our main girl, Zafirah, who I remember her name, can you imagine? She lives in a place where it's very cold. So there's snow on the ground instead of sand. She also happens to live on the edge of this thing called the Ars, which is a dark forest that is spreading, and everyone that goes in there either gets horribly lost and never comes out, or if they do come out, they have lost their minds. Like, it kind of warps time. It just drives you mad. But a weird thing about Zafirah is that she, for whatever reason, is able to go into the forest and find her way and hunt and exist like a normal person and come out, and she's fine. And she's, as we know, the only person in this world that can do that. And so in order to take care of her community, she takes on the role of the hunter, and she goes in and she hunts and she brings back meat so that her community can survive. As I said in my review, my last video, women in this society are not supposed to do anything other than like cook and clean, even though she's doing this absolutely fantastic thing, literally keeping her village alive. If she were to be found out as being a woman doing this, she would lose everything. It would be like a shame on everyone who's ever known her kind of thing. And so she lives with this constant fear of her identity being found out. That is a real theme in both Zafirah and then our next character that we meet, Nasir. This theme of identity and how they both really cling to their identities in totally different ways. And I think that it's fantastic, and I think that their character growth is phenomenal, and I just think that the author is a brilliant mind, and I'll get into it later because it's spoilery. But anyway, that is Zafirah. Then we switch POVs because this story does switch POVs, usually just Zafirah and Nasir, but sometimes we get a couple other characters. This isn't a spoiler, but Nasir is called the Prince of Death because he's an assassin and he works for the Sultan. But he is not only an employee of the Sultan, no, he is a legitimate prince. You would think being an assassin and being Prince of Death and all this stuff, he would be kind of like a brat and a strong character. He's actually a little weakling. He is so scared of his father. Not going into details, but he has a lot of guilt. He has a very heavy conscience. He's super apathetic is his thing. Instead of like hoping one day to come out of it and like people suddenly realize that he's a nice guy, he is just completely apathetic and completely resigned to the fact that this is just, people think that I'm a shitty person, so I'm gonna be a shitty person for the rest of my life. Why bother changing it? I'm just gonna do what everybody says. He has no backbone. He doesn't stand up for anything, for anyone. It took me a really long time to like Nasir because he has zero personality. So give Nasir a chance, baby. If you're reading this and you're like, who the hell is this guy? Give him a chance. But luckily for Nasir, ooh, let me open up my pronunciation guide. I never actually pronounce their names out loud. I just say things in my head. So the author says that you pronounce his name Altair. He has this friend named Altair, and he is literally only there to be annoying. I love characters like that. Like if they solely exist to say sassy things and to like totally piss off the protagonist, I'm here for it. And he was literally the character that I stayed with the book for, because Zafirah and Nasir are boring AF, I think, in We Hunt the Flame until like the very end. But Altair just kept cracking these jokes, and then we meet a couple other characters that just, the banter was good. So anyway, I'm literally just introducing the characters. What is the plot about? So now you know who these people are, okay? Zafirah one day comes out of the woods and there's this weird witch lady, and the woman is like, sup Zafirah, I know you're a lady, I have a proposition for you. And Zafirah, who is dressed in like her hunter man gear, is like, what? They end up talking, and the witch lady is like, if you go to this mystical island, you are the only one who's going to be able to find how to bring the magic back. And so why don't you do it? Because either way, if you fail, your community is going to die because the forest is going to eat it up. And if you don't do anything, your community is going to die because the forest is going to eat it up. So why don't you just go on a little vacay? Why don't you go to this island, hang out, maybe save the world? Either way, you know, what have you got to lose? At first, Zafirah's just like, yo, you're freaking me out. Like, where did you come from? But the more that she thinks about it, the more that she thinks the woman's right. She's like, yeah, honestly, what do I have to lose? And what if I do bring the magic back? This is like something she's always dreamt about. So she decides to go ahead and do it. And she brings along her little childhood best friend, Dean, much to the chagrin of Yasmin, who I love. She is kind of like Altair because she is also really sassy and crass. On the other end, we have Nasir, who gets called into the throne room by his father, who's a big bully. The Sultan is basically like, hey, I got some weird intel that the Silver Witch has found a hunter that is going to this magical island and is going to find the way to bring the magic back. But what I need you to do, Nasir, son, please go find the hunter, find what the hunter finds, kill everybody that you took with you, including the hunter, and bring me back the little magic thingy. And that is the plot. That is how we start. Nasir, of course, goes because he can't say no to his dad. He brings along Altair because we need comedic relief because Nasir is boring. And the story starts there. Do they bring the magic back? Is it just a cute little island vacay? Who knows? Again, it was kind of slow going. You don't like a lot of the characters at first. There's a lot of world building that goes on, but the second one, the growth, the romance, it was great. I said this, I think it was an Instagram story, but I cried every kind of tear possible. Like happy tears, shocked, appalled, sad tears, any emotion that can come out of your eyeballs. I experienced it in the second one. And it was partially because of jet lag in my first shot of the vaccine, but also it was just a very well-written book. Highly recommend the duology if you haven't read it yet. If you do not want any spoilers, please leave now. I welcome you back with open arms. Come back to this video when you're done reading it. I love you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Now get out of here. If this video wasn't already enough of a mess, this is where the real mess begins. Please try and stay with me. If you get lost, you will know how I felt while I was reading these books, because when I tell you that I skimmed things, I'm gonna talk about it in a moment, the things that I chose to skim, but yeah, I read these books real fast. I had a romance that I needed to get to the bottom of, and I did. And I'm satisfied with how I read it. The thing is, I know that I'm gonna reread these books. Now that I know how it ends, I can kind of read it slowly and enjoy and digest it. I was just kind of on a rampage, to be quite honest. I needed to know how everything wrapped up. But my first question and spoilery content part is, can we just kind of gossip about Dean for a second? Dean is introduced, I'm pretty sure he's just the second character ever introduced. Childhood friend, handsome, nice, the family loves him. She is best friends with his sister. Like obviously he was in love with her. So Dean is hopelessly in love with Zafirah. Zafirah just sees him as a friend. The reason I didn't like Dean, and the reason that I kind of started off on the wrong foot with this book, is because I hate characters that only exist to die. And that is exactly what Dean was. You should have just named him Dead Boy. He decides to go with Zafirah on this quest because he is loyal and he's in love with her and he needs to be a hero. And he lasts for about an hour. I mean, realistically, how long was he actually on that island? I don't think very long. And he was shot and pretty immediately killed. Yes, it shocked me because I did not think he would die that quickly. It just annoyed me because really the only reason he died is so that we could have the issue of Zafirah didn't know who killed him. It was either Nazir or Altair. If it was Nazir, obviously that would be an extra super bad thing for their relationship, because it's hard to forgive somebody who kills your best friend / you kind of were pity crushing on him. But also she then is carrying this weight of the boy that loved me and I loved him as a brother just died, and so I can't really open my heart to anybody else right now, Nasir. You know, literally Dean existed just to create that conflict. And so it was confusing, and also kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? Oh my god, I'm having a mental blank. Give me a moment, guys. Convenient. It was kind of convenient that Altair, because he's the general and he has this like underground army going on, kind of convenient that he could just say every single person was a spy that worked for him. And it just continued to get weird. Like the amount of people who he would be like, oh yeah, he's secretly on my team. Oh yeah, he's secretly a spy. Oh yeah, I know him. I was very confused by that. Dean was like the catalyst of me just being very confused about Altair's spy network. And because of all of my skimming and not really giving a shit, I still don't really understand it. Anyway, the beginning of the book just became a very like convenient thing, which wasn't something that I absolutely loved. The action was sort of just like a lot of meeting people and then learning things. So we meet, let me write their names down. Kahira, love Kahira. 1 of 9, love her and Altair. Their banter literally got me through this book. I'm gonna say this like 100 times. And then the immortal, is he an Ifrit? Anyway, we're just gonna call him B because I don't remember his name. The immortal dude that is with 1 of 9. Couldn't have cared less about the things that he said. This is when, again, the reason why I didn't think that We Hunt the Flame was as strong as We Free the Stars is because it was a lot of telling us instead of showing us. So we would just kind of sit down and this immortal B character would tell us the legend and tell us the story and tell us how, you know, the witches and the lion and the this and the that, and then the action would just be like they would get attacked and then he would like, things would settle down and he'd be like, all right, back to the story, or at least that's how it felt to me. You got the world, you understood what was kind of happening, but I didn't feel as connected to these characters as I would normally, I think, if it was a lot more action based. The second Immortal Bee, I could see that he had a lot of dialogue coming. I was just kind of like, and then the ending happens quite quickly. The little introduction we have to the romance that is to come in the second book was very sweet and nice, and fucking Nasir. I thought this video was already gonna be a mess. Oh my god. So this has happened to me a few times before. I imported all of my content and about 15 minutes of it is just black screen. Audio is fine. You can hear me ranting about how dumb Nasir is. It was super cute. Nasir is an idiot, as we know. He kind of never stops being an idiot actually until like the very last page. So I'm gonna run through the things that I said before this got all messed up. So I was saying that the last romantic scene was juicy, it was great, and then Nasir and his big mouth ruined everything as usual, and he's like, it meant nothing. The thing that bothered me about the end though, and then bleeding into the beginning of We Free the Stars, is they had to leave Altair behind. They got the stuff that they needed, which again, the plot is fuzzy for me. Pretty sure they had like a witch's heart that they needed to go like bury or like put in its rightful place, and then they had this weird book thing that like bonded with Zafirah. So they got this stuff, and it was basically like everybody could get away, or they could risk losing everything that they had done, turn around, try and help Altair, who they kind of thought was maybe already dead, and so they left him behind. And Altair spends a ton of like the end of this book and the beginning of the next one being super emo about it, which I thought was really not going along with his character, because he is the head of a spy network. I feel like he understands putting duty before like personal stuff, but he was literally so upset, and that kind of was again another like convenient plot point, but wasn't cheesy enough or wasn't kind of eye-rolly enough to ruin the plot, because We Free the Stars. We Free the Stars. Let's talk about it. Now we go into We Free the Stars, which I've already talked about, begins a lot with Altair being emo. And he's extra emo because he has just found out that his father is the lion, who is a bad guy. And this is another part that I skimmed heavily, because every time the lion spoke, it was the same conversation over and over and over. He was literally like, I'm heartless. He's trying to get Altair to be on his side for a little bit, and then he'll be like, oh, but by the way, everything that I just said was false because I'm heartless and I have no emotions and I'm a psychopath. It got old after a while. You're like, we get it, lion. And I just want to ask, did I miss the part where people were shocked by the fact that Altair was like in his 90s? He's acting like a 20-year-old kid and he's 90 years old. Did we, like, everyone was just kind of like, huh? You know, nobody, maybe because there's just a lot of immortal people in this world, I don't know, but I felt like it was very casually written, the fact that this guy is 90. Anyway, that was a part that I skimmed a lot. Then we have the introduction of Zafirah's sister, Reintroduction. She was kind of in the first one very briefly. Girl saved the book. I loved her. She was spunky, she was funny, she put Zafirah and Nasir in so many awkward situations. She was just like a super interesting character. And then basically the first 300 pages, just a quick rundown. We have Altair being emo, we have the sister being rad, we have Zafirah and Nasir realizing that they are so perfect for each other, and they're only happy and they only feel complete and they only feel good when they are together, and then they're like, no, no, something's wrong, we can't be together, it just won't work. They're just doing the thing. They're doing the thing that I hate for the first 300 pages. And then Zafirah dies. I wish I could set the scene for you. I wish I took a video at that exact moment because I was so jet lagged and so tired, and I was in my bed. It was like 2 a.m. and I was just laying there so fucking angry. She was in a battle and the first little sharp thing that punched her, she died. And I just remember being like, I did not stay up this late for this shit. And so I continued reading it, and I know that I finished the book. I powered through from the 300 page mark all the way to the end. I ended up finishing the book somewhere around 5 a.m. and I, as I said in the beginning, cried every kind of tear possible. And Zafirah's death was the catalyst of these tears. So I think I have caught up with myself. I'm gonna bring you back to the past. Thank you for joining me on this little post-editing spree. Let's talk about the last 300 pages of this book. So that pissed me off. But then I got even more mad for Zafirah because this crew ain't loyal. First of all, they leave Altair on this little magic island, and then they leave Zafirah, their it girl. They were like, no, we gotta keep going. We can't go pick her up. Can't go pick up her dead body because she's already dead. You're a super strong man, but apparently you can't carry this tiny girl who's dead, who you love. We gotta keep going. They leave. Nasir, one of 9, all of them, peace out. And I was just so mad for Zafirah. I would be so pissed. I would come back from the dead and I would haunt them. So obviously we know that she didn't die because that's ridiculous to kill off your main character in the middle of the second book. But everything that happens from then till the end is wild. It is go, go, go. More people die. Like, people die that you wouldn't expect, and it just kind of comes out of fucking nowhere. Altair is back, baby, and he's still really sassy, but he's kind of like an emo sassy, and we love him for it. We get more of Sassy's sister. We get sassy Yasmin, who pissed me off to the end of the earth. Oh my god, she was such a brat. Then we kind of turned it around, and I feel bad for her, but then also it seems like she's got some good stuff going on in her future, hopefully. I don't know. With Yasmin, it was just a lot of stuff packed into those 300 pages. The romance was very nice. Do I understand what happened with the lion and with the witches and the hearts and the book? No, absolutely not. I don't understand what happened, but I know that things came back and Nasir was going to be named the king, and then he was like, no thank you. I kind of want to have more time on my hands because I know that this nice girl named Zafirah doesn't want to be a queen, so I'm just gonna go be a little governor or mayor or whatever over here, and Altair can be king. And so happy ending for Altair. Really happy for him and all of his weird spy network stuff. Good for him. He's gonna be a good king. We hope, we love. And so at this point I've already cried like 20 different flavors of tears. Then Nasir just lets Zafirah go. Zafirah goes back to her hometown. She does like whatever the hell she does. She's helping another person. I don't plot, right? She's like doing something. And Nasir just kind of sits there and he's sad and he's lonely. I hope that they learn to communicate. I hope that Nasir learns to go after what he wants in a less half-assed way. I hope if there was a third book, this would be the final arc in Nasir's character growth, is that he actually fucking finishes things that he starts. So it turns out that it is Zafirah who does come back, who like waltzes into Nasir's government building and is like, could I stay? And Nasir says a bunch of really nice, wonderful things, and I just cried a lot, and I'm so happy that they're together. And even thinking about it, I just feel really emo and I kind of want to read the last 100 pages. But this book is a total mess, and this video is an even worse mess. Please read it really quickly because I don't want this video to go too long, and it already is. Just talking about identity and stuff. I think that Nasir and Zafirah are so interesting in their kind of contrasting views towards identity, because Nasir, like I said, is really apathetic, and he has kind of been given this identity and he has just kind of resigned himself to it. He thinks that everybody already thinks of him in this way and there's nothing he can really do to change their minds. So, you know, and he also, you know, he has this guilt of, which again, Altair, what was that? What was that? Like, speaking of Spy Network, that whole plot line with Nasir and his weird servant love that is actually a spy but got blinded because of, that's something I didn't even touch, and I'm not going to go into it right now because I'm confused by it still, and I literally just remembered it. But anyway, Nasir has like guilt and stuff, so he partially feels like he is justified in people hating him, but also he's just like, who cares, I can't prove them wrong anyway, so I might as well just go along with it. And he slowly grows out of that, and I think seeing that is really nice, seeing him be able to stand up for himself and seeing that if you take action, like, people do change. If you think that people stay the same and can't like repent for things that they did in their past or like change their ways, that's terrifying. It's a bad reflection on you. Like, that means that you do not believe in your own personal growth. Seeing him go through his personal growth was absolutely wonderful, and finding his own voice and shedding the identity that he never wanted, that he never asked for. Meanwhile, I think Zafirah was much more interesting. Her struggle with identity was she had an identity that she completely enveloped herself in, and she loved and she felt whole being the hunter. And when that role was taken away, first of all, people found out that she was a girl, and so she wasn't really seen as this hero anymore. After that, her village is gone, and eventually the forest is gone. So that thing that made her special, the thing that only she could do, this thing that she defined herself with, was suddenly gone. And she had to figure out how to define herself. Like, who is Zafirah if not a hunter? And I think that her finding her own voice, like being who she is without a costume, without this kind of role, is something that I think a lot of us struggled with. This sounds so weird, but like in 2020, when all of a sudden normal life as we know it stopped, a lot of us lost our roles. A lot of us lost things that we used to identify ourselves. And so I think that seeing Zafirah figure out who she is, even when she is stripped of everything, who is she at her core? I thought that that was such a beautiful journey to be on. I think a lot of us really do define ourselves by like what we do, and for Nasir, how other people see us and stuff like that. Are we chained to these particular identities, and can't we just be who we are at our core? But how can we be it if we don't even know who we are? I don't know. I just thought that the identity theme was really beautiful and something really, a nice journey to be on with those characters that was more than just this external adventure. It was really this wonderful internal growth, and also the romance was great. So yeah, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Thank you for being here. So it is We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars. Please read them together as a duology. They are incomplete without each other, and We Hunt the Flame is very much a setting the scene for action, 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 and We Free the Stars. Just wait till Zafirah dies. That's the best part, in my opinion. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna edit this. I'm gonna send this on its merry way to you, and I love you all so much. This was a disaster of a video, and I'm so sorry that I like hyped it up, that I was gonna, you know, I needed to give it time and I needed to write out the script and make sure I did it justice. I'm sorry, but this book made me a mess, and so the video is a mess, and the author and the duology has only itself to blame. I will see you guys next time. I will be flying back to Seoul in a couple days. I'm sorry for missing a video last week. I don't know what's going on for next week, just because who knows with my flight. I hopefully don't have to quarantine, but who knows? I'll see you when I see you. Keep up with me. Probably Cari Cakes. I will update more. I always forget I have a bookstagram, so don't check there for updates. I won't be there. I'm gonna end it here now, but you are fabulous and you're wonderful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. So I will see you next time. Bye.
웃는 법을 잊은 듯해 회색의 실의 끝에 또 어둠이 날 부를 때